Now on Brookland News Live, the breaking news right now. A major update coming in from the NTSB just moments ago on the crash that occurred Sunday night at LaGuardia Airport in New York. All as lines continue growing at airports. Seconds ago, Markwayne Mullin sworn in as the new Department of Homeland Security Secretary. And right here in Brooklyn, it's a beautiful day to step outside. We're bringing you a forecast. That's coming up later this hour, right here, right now, on Brookland News Live.
Brookland News Live starts right now with breaking news.
And we start with breaking news because we're getting a lot of new information about that crash at LaGuardia. Good to be with you. It is 2:01 right here in Brooklyn, 3:01 on the East Coast, and 12:01 on the West. I'm Jackson Mitchell. It is Tuesday, March 24th. We are getting, again, new details as the National Transportation Safety Board, or NTSB, is what you probably heard it referred to as, just moments ago before we came on the air, providing an update on that crash. This is video coming into us from this morning showing the plane still in the exact same place it was the moment it crashed with that fire truck. The names of the two pilots have now been released. 42 were sent to the hospital, though now many have been released. We will get you to the names of those pilots and that information coming up in just a moment. But first, we want to play out this press conference coming in from the NTSB. Let's turn the audio up here and listen in.
All right, good afternoon. Again, I'm Jennifer Homendy, and I'm chairwoman of the National Transportation Safety Board, or NTSB. With me today on my left is John DeLue. He is a new board member with the National Transportation Safety Board, and he's here on his training launch. To my right is Doug Brazy. Doug is our investigator in charge, or IIC, as we refer to the investigator in charge. Again, he's a senior aviation accident investigator that has been with the board for 34 years. So today, as I mentioned yesterday, today is our full first day on scene. And we have a lot to cover. In fact, we started the morning with a 2-hour meeting just to organize our investigative groups and walk through what we needed to accomplish today. Fortunately, the entire NTSB team has arrived. Like I said yesterday, we had significant delays with investigators getting here due to backups of TSA lines, and in fact, I understand that this press conference had to move because the lines were actually wrapping around the building. But I do have a lot of investigative information to share today. First, as I mentioned yesterday, we were able to take possession of the cockpit voice recorder and the flight data recorder. That was at 9:57 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Our local investigator, had immediately began a trip down to our headquarters in Washington, D.C. to take the CVR and FDR to our labs for downloading and for analysis. We do have some preliminary information to share from the final 3 minutes from the cockpit voice recorder. And again, I just want to say it's preliminary and is subject to change. And for that, I'm going to turn that piece over to Doug Brazy.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. The airplane was equipped with an Akron Aviation Model Survivor 2.5 cockpit voice recorder and an Akron Aviation Model FA2100 flight data recorder. The cockpit voice recorder contained more than 25 hours of good quality audio across 4 separate channels. The flight data recorder contained approximately 80 hours of data and recorded more than 400 parameters. The NTSB will convene a cockpit voice recorder group scheduled for tomorrow at the NTSB headquarters in Washington, D.C. to review the accident flight recording and produce a written transcript. The following is a summary of events captured on the cockpit voice recorder during the final 3 minutes of the recording. all times are referenced to the end of the CVR recording. 3 minutes and 7 seconds prior to the end of the recording, the approach controller instructed the airplane to contact LaGuardia Tower. At 2 minutes and 45 seconds, the flight crew lowered the landing gear. At 2 minutes and 22 seconds, the flight crew checked in with the LaGuardia Tower. At 2 minutes and 17 seconds, the LaGuardia Tower cleared the airplane to land on runway 4 and advised that they were number 2 for landing. At time 1 minute and 52 seconds, the flight crew set the flaps to 30 degrees. At 1 minute and 33 seconds, the flight crew set the flaps to 45 degrees. At 1 minute and 26 seconds, an electronic 1,000 call-out occurred from the enhanced ground proximity warning system, indicating that the airplane was 1,000 feet above the ground. At 1 minute and 12 seconds, the flight crew confirmed that the landing checklist was complete. At 1 minute and 3 seconds, an airport vehicle made a radio transmission to the tower, but that transmission was stepped on by another radio transmission, and the source of who made that transmission has yet to be.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do. See, the thing about not being live is we are actually able to take video, and we're actually able to show you some more about it here. So I'm going to pause this press conference. We will listen into more of it here in just a moment. But we now have gotten in some more video here at the Brookland newsroom on the transmissions and the air traffic controllers to all the aircrafts, kind of the radio traffic. We've gotten that into us, and we want to play a piece of that for you. So here is the air traffic controller audio. Take a look. Listen here.
Frontier 4195, just stop there, please. Stop, stop. Stop, truck 1, stop. Stop, truck 1, stop. Delta 2603, go around, runway heading 2000. Jet 646. Jet 646, I see you collide with vehicle in hold position. I know you can't move.
CB Cotton, live on the scene with these...
That wasn't good to watch. Yeah, I know I was here. I tried to reach out to my staff, and we were dealing with an emergency earlier. I messed up. No, man, you did the best you could.
So the moments there of the Frontier 4195 saying that wasn't good to watch. Yeah, I know, I was here. I tried to reach out. We were dealing with an emergency earlier, and that emergency earlier is later mentioned within this press conference where they say the emergency was that it was a United Airlines aircraft had some reports of smoke in the cockpit, so that's what the fire truck was headed to. The fire truck was given the clearance to pass runway 4. Air Canada, the express plane, was also given the clearance to land on runway 4, ultimately leading to this collision. Now the NTSB here for the investigation portion of it all to determine what can change here, what may have exactly went wrong. Was it a lack of staffing in the air traffic control booth, essentially? Was it that? And there have been multiple reports that, there was only one person working 2 separate frequencies, and while that isn't uncommon, you would think for a big airport like LaGuardia, maybe it would be, but we're going to go back and listen and continue listening into this press conference here and exactly what occurred.
Feet above the ground and on a stable approach. At 40 seconds, the LaGuardia Tower asked which vehicle needed to cross a runway. At 28 seconds, Truck 1 made a radio transmission to the tower. At 26 seconds, the tower acknowledged that radio transmission. At 25 seconds, Truck 1 requested to cross runway 4 at taxiway Delta. At 20 seconds, the tower cleared Truck 1 and company to cross runway 4 at taxiway Delta. At 19 seconds, an electronic 100 enhanced ground proximity warning system callout occurred. At 17 seconds, Truck 1 read back the runway crossing clearance. At 14 seconds, an electronic 50 call out. At 12 seconds, an electronic 30 call out. And at that same time, the tower instructed a Frontier Airlines flight to hold position. At 11 seconds, an electronic 20 call out occurred. And at 10 seconds, an electronic 10 call out occurred. At 9 seconds, the tower instructed Truck 1 to stop. At 8 seconds, there was a sound consistent with the airplane's landing gear touching down on the runway. At 6 seconds, there was a pilot transfer of controls from one pilot to the other. And at 4 seconds, the tower again instructed Truck 1 to stop. At 0 seconds, the recording ended. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Mr. Brazy had mentioned that 6 seconds before the end of the recording, the pilot transferred controls. We do know that the first officer was flying and transferred control to the captain. With respect to aircraft rescue and firefighting operations, we will be developing a timeline of events. We do know that they were responding to a United Airlines flight 2384 at the gate, which had 2 aborted takeoffs, and the ARF, or the Aircraft Rescue and Firefighters, had received information that there were fumes or smoke or some sort of smell in the cabin, so they were en route to address that.
Alrighty, there you go. Something I just mentioned to you earlier, that fire truck was responding to a United Airlines aircraft who'd actually had to abort takeoff twice and had some type of smoke smell in the cockpit, then leading to this incident here. So, as we continue our coverage of this crash, we brought to you and mentioned at the top of the hour that the names of the pilots involved killed in this crash have since been released. Those pilots' names are Captain Antony Forrest and First Officer Mackenzie Gunther. They were killed when that CRJ 900 plane, collided with the Port Authority fire truck during a landing incident on Sunday night. And now you are watching pictures that came into us this morning of the aftermath of that collision. So there you go. That is the news we were getting in about this crash. We will bring you more when we get it. Again, this collision also left 42 people sent to the hospital. We know yesterday that was a number given to us, and we know things have since changed, and a lot of those people have been released. But again, that was that initial number of people ultimately sent to the hospital. We do have more news to bring to you. There's a lot going on today, so we want to make sure we're getting it all to you, and that takes us right now over to the White House, where just moments ago, Markwayne Mullin, who is the Republican senator from Oklahoma, set to take over the current Secretary of Homeland Security's Kristi Noem's role. So Markwayne Mullin, now going to be the DHS Secretary, sworn in moments ago at the White House. I want to play. I'm just going to play from the swearing in to. Excuse me here, I gotta find the moment in this clip, but I just want to play from the swearing in to here we go. I believe this is it. Oh, here we go. Yes, this is again moments ago at the White House. Senator Markwayne Mullin sworn in to become the next DHS Secretary.
Everybody wanted this job. Has to be very proud. You have to be very proud. Everybody wanted this job. I said, there's one man for this job, and I have no doubt he's going to be fantastic. Thank you, Pam. Come on over. Thank you.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear,
I do solemnly swear,
Mark Wayne Mullin,
Mark Wayne Mullen,
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
and I will bear true faith to allegiance and do the same,
and that I take this obligation freely,
and take this obligation freely,
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties of the office
discharge the duties of the office
on which I am about to enter.
which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Secretary.
Thank you. I think that was the most nervous I've ever been. I don't, it just seems surreal being in the Oval Office and having the President of the United States speak so highly of me and then recognize my family and know my family by name. It's humbling, and I never take it for granted, but I've made this very clear that I don't care what color your state is. I don't care if you're red or you're blue. At the end of the day, my job is to be Secretary of Homeland and to protect everybody the same, and we will do that. I'll fight every single day. Today I got the privilege of meeting so many of the employees at DHS. These employees have been there for 30 days without pay. And if you need anything to know their dedication to show up and still protect the homeland that you and I enjoy and the freedoms that we're experiencing, they're working with for free because of political politics. That's all I need to know. I told them, as you're fighting 365 days, understand I'll be fighting 365 days beside you. No one's going to outwork me, and I'm not going to let any of them outwork me. The President has entrusted me with this, and failure is not an option. And so thank you so much, Mr. President, for this opportunity. I won't let you down.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I love that expression. No one's going to outwork me. That's
Alrighty,
a
so
wrestler's
quick remarks
expression.
there from Mark Wayne Mullen, now the Department of Homeland Security's new secretary. We're going to turn the audio up here in just a second, but I did want to note that this all comes amid a shutdown at the Department of Homeland Security, meaning TSA agents and are not being paid. Specifically, when you talk about the airports, the video that you're seeing there on your screen, and now ICE is having to go in these airports and assist TSA agents. And that, of course, has drawn lots of controversy because that's the reason that Democrats said, ultimately, no, we're not going to vote in favor of funding DHS without some reforms. President Donald Trump, now this is again still last hour at the White House, taking questions after the swearing in of Mark Wayne Mullen. Let's go back live there, or go back to this camera from earlier and continue listening in.
Say that his family, and I don't know this for a fact, and I shouldn't say it because I could get myself. Does anybody in your family want men to play in women's sports? I don't think so, Jim, right? I don't think so. I don't think. How would they do? Would they do good wrestling you? They would be in trouble? He said, yes, they'd be in big trouble. It's so crazy. So that would be one. And then we have a few others that we call them the best of Trump. But if you look at transgender mutilization of children, we don't want that. It's the mutilization of children. We don't want that. So generally speaking, I think I can answer that Mark Wayne would be very much in favor of what I'm in favor of. Would you say that's right, Mark? I can't think of too many things. He might be worse. He might be worse than me. That's my look at his wife is saying. That's right. But so yeah, he's going to be great. Yeah.
Do you believe the secretary will run DHS any differently than Kristi Noem did? What do you hope to see as his priorities?
Well, we had a good run. Look, we created the strongest border with the help of that man right there. Tom is so incredible. And he's going to be a big influence here, too. There's nobody more professional, nobody better. There's nobody better as a human being. You know, he looks tough, but he's got a good heart. But not too good. Don't make it too good. But, you know, we had Tom. We have the safest border we've ever had. We have a lot of assets, but a lot of things we can do and we're going to do. We have to get criminals out of our country that were allowed in by Biden. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, do you support what appears to be a merging agreement coming out of the Senate to reopen DHS?
Well, I'm going to look at it, and we're going to take a good hard look at it. I want to support Republicans, and, you know, sometimes it's awfully hard to get votes when you have Democrats that don't want to have voter ID. They don't want to have proof of citizenship. They don't want to do anything about men playing in women's sports. That's one of the items we put on, you know. And I did that just because it's so popular. You know, they say that's at least an 80-20 issue. No, it's about a 99-1. I don't think it's, what do you think, Pete? Do you think it's 80-20? Who's closer, 80-20 or 99-1?
Almost 100.
Yeah, I think 100 is really the, so, you know, so I support that, and I support common sense.
Would you be comfortable with a deal that involves separating ICE funding from the DHS funding package in order to reopen?
Well, they're working on all of that. You know, that's a detail that they'll explain later. Please.
Election integrity and DHS measures. Mr. President, since CISA falls under DHS, and given that many credible voices have raised concerns over its premature and possibly likely faulty 2020 election assessment, will you and Secretary Mullen implement reforms at CISA and at DHS to ensure full confidence in future elections, like in the upcoming?
About it. We'll talk about it. You know, pros and cons. Look, they used it to try and put me in prison, right? So I can't be thrilled with it. They used that very strongly, very illegally. The Democrats are thugs, and I don't want to say that. It would be nice to everyone get along, but it's a different country than it was years ago. It was very dangerous the way they used it. And they weaponized government. They used that to weaponize government. So I'm not thrilled, but I'll also go along with two groups of people, the military, and I think the military likes it, right? And I'll go along with the senators. I'm fine. But I was a big victim of it. Yeah, please.
Are you going to send Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff to do direct negotiations with the Iranians?
Yeah, well, we're in negotiations, as it turned out, and now you've seen what I said yesterday was exactly correct. We're in negotiations right now. They're doing it along with Marco, JD. We have a number of people doing it. And the other side, I can tell you, they'd like to make a deal. And who wouldn't if you were there? Look, their Navy's gone, their Air Force is gone, their communications are gone. That's the biggest problem. It's very hard to communicate them between themselves. All of the anti-aircraft is gone. Most of their missiles are gone. We either shot them or they shot them and don't have them anymore. They're down to a trickle. Pretty much everything they have is gone. I don't know. Can you name one thing that's not gone, or can you name one thing that's doing well? You know, if you read the papers, you think we're tied. You think we're in a tough battle. We are roaming free over Tehran, the city, Tehran, as opposed to Iran. We're roaming free. We can do whatever we want. And as you know, today we were going to have the privilege of shooting down a very big electric generation plant, one of the biggest in the world. And one shot to the right location ends the plant, it collapses. And we held off based on the fact that we're negotiating. Yeah.
What do you think was the turning point to make you want to pursue a ceasefire? A few days ago, you said you wanted to continue bombing Iran. Now you want to pursue peace talks. Was there something that happened?
The fact that they're talking to us and they're talking sense. And remember, it all starts with they cannot have a nuclear weapon. Just, I said yesterday, they said, what are the top 10? I said, well, number 1, 2, and 3 is they can't have a nuclear weapon. And they're not going to have a nuclear weapon. And we're talking about that. And I don't want to say in advance, but they've agreed they will never have a nuclear weapon. They've agreed to that.
How do you ensure they won't have a nuclear
Your
weapon?
former Border Patrol chief, Greg Bovino, said his only regret is that he didn't catch more illegal aliens. What's your reaction to that?
Who said that?
That's your former Border Patrol chief. He just retired.
Well, I mean, we captured a lot. They were allowed into the country by Sleepy Joe and that group of incompetent people that were, he was the worst president ever, the group of incompetent people. To me, that's the biggest scar. Inflation, they caused the highest inflation we've ever had. We've already gotten rid of it. The biggest scar is what they did, the people that they allowed from prisons all over the world. They came from the Congo, from all over South America. Rough people, really tough people. So, no, I understand what he means. He says, he would have liked to have captured more. I'm not capturing so much as removing. You know, we're removing thousands of people, and many are self-deporting because we're going after them so powerfully that they're self-deporting, Tom, going back. I think that's one of the big unkept secrets. We have thousands and thousands of people, and they're self-deporting. They're going back to where they came from. But what we want really is the criminals. We're really focused on those criminals, getting them out. Yeah.
What's your message right now to Democrats and also to Americans that are stuck in airports? It's really devastating watching it online because Democrats won't fund DHS.
What's devastating?
Your message to Americans right now stuck in airports as we speak because Democrats won't
Well,
fund
they just
DHS?
don't, they won't. Look, this is a deal that was done in the Great Big Beautiful Deal, which gave you the biggest tax cuts ever, including no tax on tips and no tax on Social Security for the seniors. Think of it, no tax on overtime, tax deductions when you buy a car, you take money, you pay interest on the money, you deduct it. We've never had that for people buying cars, if it's an American car, only if it's an American car. But they are just they stick together, the Democrats. I tell you, I give them great credit for that. We have some that they're not good stickers. We have guys like Tom Massey in Congress, who's terrible. He's just terrible, terrible person. I call him Rand Paul Jr. But they don't vote. Rand Paul, I mean, rarely votes for stuff. Likes me, says I'm a great president. He said the other day, I'm a great president, one of the greatest presidents. But I said, do me a favor, vote for us and don't call me a great. I'd rather have the vote than the statement. But we have people that don't stick together, and those people hopefully will someday be gone. The thing I most respect about the Democrats, even on horrible policy, they stick together. What they do have, though, is horrible policy. Transgender for everyone, open borders, men and women's sports. They have the worst policy that you can imagine. And so whether they stick together or not, I mean, they have just this terrible policy. We have great policy. Republicans have great policy. We have common sense policy, but it's great policy. That's our biggest advantage, is our policy is correct. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, are you encouraging our allies in the Gulf to be more involved in the Iran operation?
Say it.
Are you encouraging our allies in the Gulf to be more involved in the Iran operation?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit, but more NATO. I think our Gulf allies have been pretty good, to be honest with you. UAE's been hit so hard. He got hit by 1,400 rockets, shot them all out of the air with our great Patriot missiles. Think of it, they shot 100 missiles at one of our aircraft carriers, the Abraham Lincoln, one of the biggest ships in the world, actually. And out of 101 missiles shot, every single one of them was knocked down in the sea. Think of that. Think of what that means.
Alrighty, President Trump taking questions from reporters there. We will continue listening in to the president take questions, but we do have to sneak in a quick commercial break. We'll be back here in just a few moments. Here we go. Now we'll be back in just a few moments. And welcome back here and live into Brooklyn Newsline. President Trump continued to take questions from the White House just last hour.
Think of that. Think of what that means. 101 missiles, highly sophisticated, very fast missiles shot. Out of 101, all 101 were shot down and now, for the most part, lie at the bottom of the sea. Pretty amazing, right? Pretty amazing. Our military is amazing, Pete. You know the attack I'm talking about recently? 101 shot. I said, wow. I saw that. You can see we have sort of pretty good equipment that we see. It's called the red line. Those red lines were thick, right? I said, that's a lot. And then we saw them one by one just get shot. And these guys that do the shooting are the coolest cucumbers ever. You know, most people, you don't have a lot of time. When a missile's going at 2,500 miles an hour, I don't care how far away it is, you don't have a lot of time. But I watched them sit down and think. Great students, MITs, a lot of MITs, a lot of guys like this. They're not as much into the muscle as they are this one right here. And amazing to watch them perform under great pressure because they have a matter of seconds to do it. If they don't do it properly, it's a big problem, you know, because these were powerful. These were very powerful missiles coming. And so a lot of people choke. They don't choke. These guys don't choke. They're the best in the world. We have the best in the world, yeah.
Mr. President, what would be your message today to the TSA agents who have been staying home in recent days amid this impasse?
Well, some of them are needing money, you know, because the Democrats cut off their money. I blame the Democrats more than anything else. But some of them, you know, they didn't get paid because they're not funded by the Democrats. This is a Democrat problem. In fact, I actually said to the Senate, why would you say this is a Democrat problem? I think the polls are showing it's a Democrat problem. And they'll do anything actually to hurt our country so they can try and win the midterms. And if we ever went back to our old policies, we wouldn't have a country left.
If they get a deal, Republicans and Democrats in the Senate, to fund all but enforcement operations of ICE, to get those TSA agents repaid and to open up the rest of the department, would you sign that?
Well, I don't want to comment until I see the deal, but as you know, they're negotiating a deal. I guess they're getting fairly close, but I think any deal they make, I'm pretty much not happy with it. These guys came in, they wouldn't pay people. You know, they had a deal to pay. They had to break their deal. The Democrats broke the deal that we had. It was all done. Everything was fine. And then they just said, well, we're not going to pay anymore. And they hurt our country. And at a very difficult time because, you know, we are at, as they would say, a war. They call it a war. I call it a military operation, a very successful one, successful like nobody's ever seen before. Hey, Venezuela was equally as successful. That was a great thing. No, the Democrats had a deal. It was a done deal. And then they said, well, we're not going to pay. And so a lot of people suffered over that and put our country in danger. You have another question? You haven't been here in a while.
Well, on Iran, can you give us any more sense of who exactly in Iran it is, either Witkoff and Kushner and others you're speaking with?
Yeah, we had, I hate to say this in front of these young people. They're not children. I spoke to most of them. They sound like adults to me, even though they are sort of children, right? They'll always be your children. But I hate to say it, but we killed all their leadership. And then they met to choose new leaders, and we killed all of them. And now we have a new group, and we can easily do that, but let's see how they turn out. We have really regime change. You know, this is a change in the regime because the leaders are all very different than the ones that we started off with that created all those problems. So this was, I think we can say, Jason, this is regime change, right?
What makes you trust them?
I don't trust anybody. I don't trust you. I mean, that's only because I know you. But if I didn't know you, I'd probably have more trust. But I don't trust anyone.
Why bother?
Why do you say that? Why do you say what makes you trust? Do you think I trust them? I don't trust them.
Then why bother talking to them?
Because they're going to make a deal. They're going to make a deal. They did something yesterday that was amazing, actually. They gave us a present, and the present arrived today. And it was a very big present worth a tremendous amount of money. And I'm not going to tell you what that present is, but it was a very significant prize. And they gave it to us, and they said they were going to give it. So that meant one thing to me: we're dealing with the right people.
Is that nuclear related?
No, it wasn't nuclear related. It was oil and gas related, and it was a very nice thing they did. But what it showed me is that we're dealing with the right people. Because, you know, you don't know, because the leadership was killed, all gone. Khomeini, all gone, as the expression goes, the past supreme leader. And then the new supreme leader was racked up, at a minimum racked up pretty good, and everyone else was gone. And then many of the people in the third tier are gone, but we're dealing with a group of people that I think turn out, and the present, the gift they made to us was very significant, and they said they were going to do it, and it happened, and they're the only ones that could have done it. Jennifer?
Was it related to the Strait of Hormuz and the flow of...
Yeah, it was related to the flow and to the strait, yeah, it was.
Are you negotiating on who's going to control the strait from now on?
No, we'll have control of anything we want. Look, if we can end this without more lives being down, without knocking out $10 billion electric plants that are brand new and the apple of their eye, I'd like to be able to do that, you know? But they can't have certain things. I mean, you know the things. I don't have to go over the list, but again, it starts with no nuclear weapons, and they've agreed to that. There won't be any nuclear weapons. They're not going to have, and they're not going to have enrichment, any of those things. But look, I hate to say that we're in a very good bargaining position, and I hate to say that they're defenseless because, you know, until that last missile is fired, they have little power. But we are in about the best bargaining position. We're way ahead of schedule. And again, they have no Navy and they have no Air Force and they have no missile protection, and most of their missiles are gone. Most of their launches we've killed. You know, we've killed about 82% of their launchers. So even if they had a missile, they can't launch it. We've been very effective. We have the greatest military in the world. Nobody even comes close. We have the best military equipment in the world. Go ahead.
On Saudi Arabia, there's been some reporting that you've been
Alrighty, we've got a lot of news still to get to, so another quick break, then we will take you to a few of the other stories we're following on this Tuesday. More to come right here on Brooklyn News Live. Alrighty, welcome back here in Brooklyn News Live. It is time for our daily segment that will literally only stop once this war concludes. So, welcome back into Brooklyn News Live. Time for our update on where things stand here on day 25 of the war with Iran. And there's a lot. Trump announcing that yesterday we brought this to you, that strikes will continue, but they will stop on energy infrastructure in Iran. This comes as he now says he is in talks with people within Iran to possibly come to peace at some point during all of this, as Iran denies these talks are true, despite Trump claiming productive discussions. New strikes reported on energy and industrial strikes raise fears on further escalation Excuse me, did not mean to. I have a new mic, guys. I have a new mic, so I accidentally clicked the mute button, and I'm trying to get used to it still, and I don't know if the audio sounds better. You guys let me know if it does. But sorry to interrupt my middle of my thought here. But strikes continuing throughout Iran, but Trump again saying that they're going to stop on energy infrastructure. Oil prices did drop sharply after that announcement of discussions. But now oil prices back up, crude oil back up over $100. I want to take you right now to our daily update, taking you to where gas prices stand. Right now, the national average just about $4, $3.97, just rounded up. It'll be $4. Taking you to Arkansas, national average about $3.40. I believe yesterday's average was $3.39. So we're only seeing an upward trend continuing. And that includes for the national average. Actually, I want to go back to the national average and scroll down here. Yesterday's national average $3.95, a week ago $3.79, a month ago $2.95. So just showing you this trend that is only going up. Talking about fuel prices specifically here in Craighead County, we're looking at about $3.42. For Jonesboro, we're looking at about $3.45. And I know yesterday when I passed the gas station, $3.35 was the price that I saw, not $3.45, but again, that's just an average throughout the entire city, and then county $3.42. So $3.40 national, $3.97 the national average, $3.40 the average in Arkansas, $3.42 the average in Craighead County, $3.45 the average in Jonesboro. So we will continue bringing you guys updates on the war in Iran. Stocks back to pretty much normal after all of this, after that announcement as well. That conversations had begun. So again, we'll continue following every aspect, every change that we get, and we will bring that to you. We're going to sneak in a really quick break. When we come back, Sarah Kirby Sanders paying her tribute to the death of a state representative, who that state representative is, and what to know about them. When we come back here in just a moment. Another quick break, guys. Stick with us. Welcome back into Brookland News Live. We've got some breaking news out of the natural state. Arkansas State Representative Stan Berry, dead at 71. That's the news coming into us. Arkansas Governor Sarah Kirby Sanders reacting to all of this, saying, quote, "Brian and I send our deepest sympathies, to the families, friends, and colleagues of Representative Stan Berry. Stan was a solid conservative, a patriotic veteran, a faithful Christian, and a loving husband, father, and grandfather. The statement went on to say that it, excuse me here, it looks like we're missing a few lines. I'll fix that for you guys. Went on to say, and I'll go ahead, there we go, now it's fixed. It was a pleasure to serve the people of River Valley and all Arkansas alongside him and work to make our state a better place to call home. My condolences are with Stan's wife, Mona, his children and grandchildren, and all his neighbors and friends. Now, he representative a piece of Van Buren and Pope County in near central Arkansas. So again, that news coming out today, announcing the death of Arkansas Representative Stan Berry. Our condolences with his family. Of course, he served on the House Public Transportation, State Agencies, and Governmental Affairs and Legislative Joint Auditing Committees. So news also went about Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders. She says she was kicked out of, it looks like we're actually having some issues here, excuse me. She says she was kicked out of a restaurant. Now that restaurant, the Croissanterie, and both now speaking out about all of this. We're going to get to the restaurant statement, but here's Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders on, this is going to be on Hannity, which is a show on Fox News. Here we go. Take a look.
I believe it was lunch. Then you paid the bill, you tipped them, and then they told you to get the hell out. Is that right?
You're right. Unfortunately, I was there with two other moms. And as you know, as well as anybody, Sean, the battle in this country is no longer between the left versus the right. It's the normal versus the crazy. And unfortunately, we saw a little bit of the crazy come out last week in my home state of Arkansas. But the good news is that the vast majority of people across this country, they love God, they love their families, they love America, and they do not represent that small group that we had to experience and endure last week. I think my state is one of the most hospitable in the country. I'm proud to be the governor of Arkansas. I love our people. I think we have some of the most amazing people you will find anywhere, and we're not going to let a small group ruin a great reputation or dictate the rules or what it looks like to be from Arkansas or to be an American. And so we're going to continue to try to treat people with kindness the way that we want to be treated, hold our heads high, and ignore the haters and the touch of crazy when we encounter it wherever we are.
Okay, so that was that video. Now THV 11, the local station out of Little Rock, out with this story with a response from the restaurant saying a Little Rock restaurant, the Croissanterie is that restaurant, has responded after Sanders said she was told to leave from the establishment. The Croissanterie explained in a written statement that that when they were made aware of the governor's presence inside the restaurant, they were, quote, surprised and uncertain how best to respond. They said that since she and her staff were already seated and eating, they chose not to interrupt. Sanders said that after being seated in the restaurant for over an hour and 15 minutes, and food was already paid for, the owner of the Croissanterie approached a member of the protective detail and allegedly asked her to leave because her presence was supposedly, quote, making employees threatened and uncomfortable because of her political views. Now, the Croissanterie denies any statements, quote, indicating that anyone felt threatened. Again, in this statement up here, they say uncomfortable. Making that the owner said that they were making the employees threatened and uncomfortable. Croissanterie's staff say that the presence of the governor and her security detail became more widely noticed by guests and employees alike. Questions were raised about them remaining in the building. Quote, as business owners and members of this community, we recognize that any course of action carried consequences. In the restaurant statement, they said that allowing her to stay, quote, risked being persevered as lack of support for the community that makes up their staff, but also asking Sanders and her team to leave, quote, could be viewed as denying services based on differing beliefs. And that is what appears to be what Governor Sanders believes it was. She noted in that interview there with Sean Hannity that is no longer right versus left, but evil versus not evil is essentially what she said there. So we, of course, will continue to follow that. Okay, a story we were unable to get to yesterday. We started to get to it, then we had a press conference come to us. But the New York Times, over the weekend, out with a major new investigative report revealing major allegations between labor rights icon Cesar Chavez. Now, the New York Times article alleges here, and I can pull it up for you guys, alleges that Chavez sexually abused and assaulted women and girls, including Dolores Huerta, which was one of his closest allies, I should say. The investigation uncovered evidence of abuse against 2 teenage girls in the 1970s and corroborated Huerta's claims of rape. Excuse me. The revelations have led to widespread condemnation and calls to reevaluate Chavez's legacy. I want to take you to just a piece of this article. I believe we have it. I want to get it for you. It's just a piece here. Maybe not. I don't think we might not have it. But what we can do for you is play you a piece of, this is Dolores Huerta, who was one of his closest allies, who alleges rape within this article, speaking out now in a new interview with ABC News.
For decades, the late Chavez, who died at the age of 66 in 1993, was a civil rights For decades, the late Chavez, who died at the age of 66 in 1993, was a civil rights icon, a champion of farm workers and hero to millions of Latinos.
We're not going to give up. We're too far to give up.
Chavez's legacy now shattered after an explosive investigation by the New York Times detailed allegations Chavez groomed and sexually abused girls who worked in the farm workers movement. Ana Murguia telling the New York Times she was 13 years old when Cesar Chavez started to sexually abuse her. Deborah Rojas telling the Times she was raped by Chavez when she was 15. Dolores Huerta holding her own painful secret for nearly 60 years, inspired to speak out now because of the revelation from these 2 women who are now in their 60s. How would you describe what you've been through the last few weeks?
Pretty devastating. It's pretty devastating because to think that someone that so many of us thought as our hero, and he was a genius, you know. But,
a genius.
Yeah, because he did so many things. He thought of so many things, like the first farm worker credit union in the United States of America, you know what I mean? Setting up health clinics for farm workers, so many cooperatives, you know.
But geniuses can be flawed?
Yeah, that's the sad thing. Yeah.
You didn't know about these other women?
No, and you know, you always have a little suspicion there, you know what I mean? But, you know, no, I didn't know.
Tell me about your concern for these other women, young women.
I mean, that is a major concern, to think that this is happening and this is so prevalent, and that in our society that this evil exists, and it's so widespread, you know, and something that really needs to be addressed, you know. And it's that people don't talk about it because, you know, I think it's too shameful, I think, for women. And God knows that we've got to do more to protect women and girls, especially girls, you know. But we're supposed to be an advanced society, but yet the way that we treat women, you know, it's so wrong.
Why have you chosen to speak up now?
Oh, because the New York Times story came out, and you know, for all of the years that I spent organizing the farm worker movement, you know, that I had even started organizing farm workers.
So there you go. There is Dolores Huerta speaking out now about all of these new allegations made against the civil rights leader Cesar Chavez. And now I've seen videos and pictures and images showing statues, showing the work that Cesar Chavez did, and statues of Chavez either covered up or even all the way taken down. So now people, and this article now making kind of these new revelations, kind of make people question maybe his worth now after what he did. So and to reevaluate Cesar Chavez's legacy that he left behind. The Guthrie family now releasing a new statement as the search for Nancy Guthrie enters day 53. It's been quite some time since the mother of Today's Show host Savannah Guthrie went missing. That new statement, if you will ignore that I'm going to read this from my phone, but it says, quote, "We are deeply grateful for the outpouring support from neighbors, friends, and the people of Tucson. We are family now. We continue to believe it is Tucsonans and the greater Southern Arizona community that hold the key to finding the resolution in this case. Someone knows something. It's possible a member of the community has information that they did not even realize is significant. We help people search their memories, especially around the key timelines of January 31st and the early morning hours of February 1st, as well as the late evening of January 11th. We desperately ask this community for renewed attention to our mom's case. Please consult camera footage, journal notes, text messages, observations, or conversations that in retrospect may hold significance. No detail is too small. It may be the key. We miss our mom with every breath, and we cannot be in peace until she is home. We cannot grieve. We can only ache and wonder. Our focus is solely on finding her and bringing her home. We want to celebrate her beautiful and courageous life, but we cannot do that until she is brought to a final place of rest." Part of me reading that last part wants to ask, do they now are under the impression that their mother is no longer with us? She's in heaven. Is that the impression that this family now has? And I feel like if I was in this situation, that would be my growing impression, that my mother would no longer be here with us. Want to get you to your forecast, see what things are looking outside. Where's our camera for that? Our Brookland camera, that R.dot camera, showing you outside. I don't know, it's still kind of chilly. I know later in the week we're supposed to heat up. Oh, there's a smart car on that truck there. Besides the point, I know later in the week we're supposed to heat up. Tonight, it's going to be a low of 50. I don't know. I think 50 is a little chilly, especially when we've been seeing this wind, how we have. And it looks like we're getting... There we go. That was some video and picture from yesterday's edition of Brookland News Live. Wednesday, Thursday, sunny. We're gonna go up into almost, I would say, the mid to high 80s. Wednesday, high 78, low of 63. Thursday, high of 85, low of 64. So, things are for sure going to heat up as we get into the later part in the week. I want to thank all of you for watching this edition of Brookland News Live. Remember, you can join us. One moment here. You can join us weekdays at 2 p.m. where we bring you the latest news making headlines. In the meantime, thank you for joining us. We're back tomorrow.